Hello and welcome to another video. This is a video going to be looking at the player versus player mode in Guild Wars 2, the character of the profession of the warrior. Now, when I was doing, looking at a build to go run the warrior, I tried a few different things. I tried the great swords, I tried sort of a axe or sword shield combination, and I was having a bit of difficulty sort of finding my way. And a lot of players, when I was playing engineer, my main class, a lot of warriors I came up against were using the Hambow combination, which is the hammer and the longbow. And I found, after sort of looking online and seeing what how people were running this build, I found it pretty useful. It isn't the greatest build, it's a build that does have counters. It is a build that does give you a bit of toughness in this, though. You have this survivability in a fight. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this video, and what we're going to do, we're going to go through just some of the skills and why we've gone for this set. So let's start off. We'll go with the hammer. So the hammer skills are all pretty straightforward. There are a couple of main ones. For control, to CC somebody, the idea is that you use the skill 4, which gives a big sort of knockback. It's a very big skill, particularly for pointing. It can really help your teammates out. If you come in and swing this, you can knock down several foes and sort of help your team out as they can recover. The same with backbreaker, particularly useful for against professions that need to be constantly using skills, particularly a Daggerelli, or guardians that can pop heal skills. Knockdowns are pretty important. However, both of these skills, 4 and 5, will be redundant against a opponent with stability, particularly things like Whirlwind, if they put up that elite skill, or the Lich form, for example, on the Necro. So just be aware that when you're trying to use this on someone with stability, it won't knock them down. And if we switch to the longbow, we have just a general shooting. We've got a burning arrows, the fan of fire, very useful for targets running away. A slow arching arrow explodes on impact. There's fair amount of damage. We've got the smouldering arrow, which is good, taking out melee attacks, particularly the rangers, the thieves, the warriors, shooting at close range. And then the pin down one, a very, very useful one for sort of stopping the enemy from escaping or controlling them. It does give significant bleeds as well. So that's a little bit about the skills. We're going to look at some of the other skills later. Let's have a look at what build we're running on our hammer. We have a signal of paralyzation, that 30% stun duration. Switch back there. Works really well, particularly if you use your Earthshaker, which is the F1 skill, and you can really get a big amount of stun going there. Also, the 50% chance on critical to trigger a flame blast. It's a very popular skill, the Sigil of Fire, and worth taking. We look at the longbow now. We have the inflicted burning duration. Obviously, we've got some burning skills here that you can increase your duration of the burning. Helps with that little bit of pressure, and there's chance to critical as well, which will play into some of our traits later. The rune, we go with the Rune of the Scholar. It's actually a rune I run on my my warrior for PvE. If we have a look here at the equipment on my PvE warrior, I do run Rune of the Scholar as my Zerker warrior. It is very, very useful. We have a Soldier Amulet, giving that power, toughness, vitality. Pretty standard. And then let's have a look at the traits. So it's a 02606 setup. We go into arms. We have precision and condi damage, chance to cause bleeding on critical hits, and gain precision for each unused signet I have equipped, which obviously we have 3 here, so that's an extra 120 increase in precision, and I'll go into those in a little while. If you have a look at what else, could we go into something else? You could get a chance to gain swiftness, bleeds lasting longer. Well, I don't really have that much bleeds. Don't have a rifle. Chance to cause vulnerability on critical hits. It's an option to take that. It helps obviously more increased damage. I found it as less effective than Deep Strike. So that's the reason I went for that. We go into defense. We have 6 traits for toughness and healing power. We've got sure-footed, increased stance durations. Probably one of the most important traits to take for this build. It increases your stances. If you look at what counts as a stance, you've got endure pain, balance stance, frenzy, and berserker stance. So they're the 4 stances you've got choices for. If you pop this, it's an increase of 25%, so it's pretty significant. It's like an extra second or so. In fact, for both of the, well, for this one, for endure pain, it's an extra second. Berserker stance, extra 2 seconds. Vigorous return. When you rally, I don't feel it's that important. Missile deflection, if you're blocking. If you're taking a shield, then yes, but I don't have any blocks, so that's pretty irrelevant. And increases damage to weakened foes. It might go well if you put, if you've got the hammer blow there. If you manage to weaken someone, that's an increase of 5%. I do think that's a little bit weak to, for increased damage by only 5%. We do get regenerate health based on adrenaline level, so if I've got max adrenaline, I'll be regenerating health at 405 I think it's every second. Yeah, it is every second, so it's pretty significant. Having max adrenaline will really start boosting your healing, which is what, we'll come on to the healing signet later, but it is a very, very powerful healing skill. I don't think that there's any other point in taking another healing skill. The only one possibly would be mending, but just purely because of the 20-second cooldown. But running the signets, I've got a 16-second cooldown on this healing skill. It only heals for 345 compared to 5480, but healing surge would probably be the next best at 10,000 healing, because that almost bumps me back up to 50% health from 0. Yeah, again, if you went for Defiant Stance, it is another stance. It does allow you to, if you're going in straight into, for example, Legacy of the Foe, if you're right in the middle, you can absorb all these, incoming attacks. But it does have a pretty long cooldown, and it's only for 3 3/4 second Defiant Stance, and then you can lose health again. We've got Cleansing Ire, so when you remove a condition for every bar of adrenaline spent. This is pretty important, as I don't actually have any other condi removal. So every time, if you've got a full skill bar, a full sort of adrenaline bar, and you use your F1 skill, you can wipe off 3 conditions. Very, very crucial, that is. Gain power based on my toughness, so obviously my toughness, whatever it is, it'll switch over to the power. It will also count as the power. And hammer damage is increased when your foe is disabled, and reduces hammer skills recharge. So things like knockback and knockdown, these are all, and stun. These are all things that when you start hitting them, you've got a 20% increased damage. So pretty useful. So we go to the last trait in discipline, ferocity and burst recharge. So obviously the burst recharge is pretty quite good for this character. Gain adrenaline on weapon swap, so if I'm swapping, that boost, gets me a bit of adrenaline going. Signets recharge faster, very important to have this. I'll go over the signets a little bit later. So this build is pretty significant for the signets. I don't block any attacks, so it's pretty useless taking that. I didn't actually discuss why I didn't take some of the other traits. If we go back, I think it was this one we didn't take. Last Stand activates balance stance when disabled. You gain stability. It's a long cooldown. It's a 90-second cooldown. That's one of the reasons I don't take that. And you compare it to Cleansing Ire, very important, and the hammer. I don't have a mace, so that's irrelevant. Defy Pain, activate Endure Pain when you're struck below the threshold. That is a very good one to take, and the reason I didn't, I went for the condi damage and I went for the increased hammer damage. I could take Defy Pain. Spiked armor, gain retaliation when struck by a critical hit. It's a 10-second cooldown and it's 5 seconds duration. Another one that's potential. And gain toughness up to 1,000 toughness when you break out of a stun. Useful. That could be useful. I just went for because I've got a hammer, I want the extra damage for hammer. But any one of those 3 could also be used. So if we go back to here, Signet Mastery, again, I'm focusing on the signets. You can gain vigor, so you can dodge around more when you use one of the stances. We got adrenaline when you use a shout. I don't actually have any shouts, so that's irrelevant. Move faster when wielding melee weapons. I don't think that's really necessary for a warrior anyway. Gain adrenaline on a kill, well, I don't think that's going to be useful really in PvP. Weapon swapping recharges faster, pretty important if you're swapping quickly between, you know, you do the weapon swap and you gain the adrenaline. You know, it's pretty handy. Then we have Destruction of the Empowered, so deal bonus damage per boon on your target. So this is particularly useful, as again I mentioned earlier, the Elementalists, the Guardians, even the Necros and the Thieves that pop a lot of you know, boons. You're doing extra damage because they have these boons on them. I don't have any axes. Movement skills, break and mobilize. Yeah, I don't think that's great. And Vengeance has an increased chance to rally. You could go with this. I don't think it's that, you know, if you're going to get down too much, yeah. I think the increased damage on, you know, if the allies got sort of 5 or 6 boons, your damage increase is like sort of 18 to 20%. It's pretty substantial. Gain might on weapon swap. So with this weapon swap, you're getting adrenaline, you get a quicker recharge, and you gain might. Obviously, might isn't as powerful as it used to be, but it still adds, you know, allows you that extra power and condi damage. And the final trait we go for gain bonus critical hit chance for each stage of adrenaline you have. So when I've got full adrenaline bar, that's an extra 15%. That's an extra 15% chance to critical. So a great advantage when you've got full adrenaline. Burst skills do more damage to restore. You know, I did try that. I didn't feel it was that relevant. I did feel heightened focus is better. I could have gone for Brawler's Recovery. I don't actually have it unlocked on this character. It might be, you know, when you swap weapons, if you keep swapping, then it could be useful. But I think the Coddy damage removal already with the F1 skill is pretty substantial. So that's a little bit about the traits. If we go into the skills, again, I've mentioned about Healing Signet. Extremely powerful, 377 healing every second. So over 3 seconds, you know, you healed 1,000. For a lot of players, they can only do 1,000 damage in a second. So you really are having a strong survivability by constantly regenerating yourself. Zodiac Signet reduces incoming damage, so that is a flat damage reduction. It's also, when you pop it, it gets you stability. Very useful for stomping, you know, people like Engineers, Necros that will fear you, Guardians with the sort of pushback, you know, Warrior with the sort of hammer throw. The only one that this would be irrelevant to stomp would be the Elementalist, who can sort of misform, the Thief, which can dodge out, you know, can teleport, and the same for the Mesmer. So that's pretty useful if you're going to go stomp somebody. And also, if you're going in against an engineer, a turret engineer, very useful as well. Berserker Stance, 10 seconds of not getting any conditions, extremely useful. There are many Condi builds out there, and if you've got Berserker Stance up for 10 seconds, they're pretty useless. And also Endure Pain, you get no damage from any attacks for 5 seconds. You know, there have been times when I've been outnumbered 5v1 and I've needed to hold a point, and I've popped Berserker Stance and Endure Pain. I'm not getting any damage whatsoever for at least 5 seconds, and they are wasting time while my team are capping points. The final one, we have Signet of Rage. It gets that extra boost for adrenaline to help with the, you know, Condi removal, or, you know, the extra damage. It also, if you pop it, it gives you that Fury, Might and Swiftness. So I always pop that at the start of the PvP to you know, progress into the map. So that's a little bit, you know, about my warrior build. It is a basic Hambow build. You know, there's not much else that really needs to be said. Anyway, I hope that's been useful for you. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.
Your enemy took the mine. The keep is yours. They took the henge. The chieftain has returned.
Spirit fails me.